While conducting train the trainer workshops, Betsy's been recognized as one of the most highly sought after instructors for real estate associations nationwide. In 2021, through the International Distance Education Certification Center, she earned the Certified Distance Education Instructor Certification. She's a CDEI. As a member of RIA, she managed the platform presentation aspects of the 2020 Vision Series conference, and she has completed RIA's Gold Standard certification, the IDW program, and she has the Gold Standard Instructor designation. So let's all give it up for my dear friend, Betsy Coyne.
Yay. Thank you so much, Kim. And
welcome, Betsy.
Thank you so much for that wonderful welcome. Hi, everyone. I'm so really happy to be here. This technology is my thing. So I'd love to hear your questions and struggles and wins as I go through the lesson today. This is really all about learning the two main ways to poll in this virtual world. So Zoom's got it built in. I'm going to do the Zoom polls first. I'm going to have you experience one. Tell me a little bit about yourselves, and then I'm going to move on to Poll Everywhere, where we will actually experience one together. And then I'm going to show you how to put it all together yourselves, so that you can be using this. We'll be using the chat in this Zoom meeting. So please, if you haven't already done so, you can put in there hello, or that that you're where it is. And from time to time, if you have a question, please put it in there. If you can, don't private chat to me. I won't be looking at the chat until I take a break and in terms of asking Kim if there are any questions in there. So of course, if you put one in there and you want only me to know, I will look at it towards the end, and you can hang out then, and I'll look for it as well. So any way we do it, it's all going to work out. So I'm first going to start here with some information for you to know, and it starts with knowing about Zoom polls versus Poll Everywhere and how you actually put these together. And we're going to start with a poll for you to tell me, how today are you joining this meeting? So if you look on your screen right now, I want you to locate the poll that should be on your screen. And here's the thing. If you don't see a poll on your screen, I would like you to put that in the chat that you don't see it. And the reason for that is I'm going to be doing a little bit of troubleshooting with you as well while we're on. If you don't see it, I am starting off with one of the polls that's considered an advanced poll. So it has multiple choice and it has fill in the blank. And if you do not see the poll,
Miss Betsy, it looks like we are getting just about 100% not seeing the poll.
Wow.
What I'm seeing is because I know you're screen sharing, what I'm seeing is the poll results on your shared screen.
Actually, it's I've got it on my second device, and it is running right now. So there's a little timer. It says I'm about 1 minute in, and so that's odd that you see only the results. What I'm going to do then is talk a little bit about. Now I'm going to flip it around. So we got a lot of comments from those who don't see it. So now tell me who does see it. Yes, just put a yes if you do see the poll that's up on the screen. So I saw someone said ditto what Malia said. Malia,
I see the poll, Betsy, but I can't choose an answer. I don't know if that's because I'm one of the hosts.
I see.
I have the option to end the poll.
And
Malia,
I'm
what we're saying
I'm seeing the
is,
presenter
Betsy,
mode.
presenter mode.
Yeah, I
Right.
see.
We're seeing your presenter mode.
Yeah, I see. So let me clear that up so that it's a little easier to follow. And I was telling Kim and Jim as we were getting onto this that I have my Windows laptop. And so I'm really getting, as an instructor, getting used to the presenting with Windows versus Mac so that I can support everyone. And I typically present with a Mac. So, so anyway, thank you for that. So there you've got the slide view. And then what I'll do is I'll just end the poll just to get it to come up again. And so now give me a yes if you see this one. So I'm going to launch it again. And so the thing here with polls is that if you do not have the updated version of Zoom, then this newly advanced type of polling isn't available to you. So, so for those who don't, and I can see there's a number of you. So then I'm gonna, do we have any yeses? Anybody who is seeing the poll? I see Kim says yes, I've got my extra device, has it. All right, so we're gonna take a little tangent here. If everyone would look in the upper left corner of your screen, completely different. I'm going to talk a little bit about what version of Zoom you've got running today. And in the upper left corner of your screen, there's a tiny green shield. Go ahead and click on that little tiny green shield. Once you click there, there is a window that opens up, and in the window, it says the name of today's meeting, it says what the meeting ID is, and in the corner of that little window that opened up, there is a tiny gear icon, often represents settings when you see these gear icons. And this is a way that brings you right to your settings for your Zoom application that's running on the device that you're joining with today. And once you get in there on the right-hand side at the bottom, it gives you some levels of statistics and something we call bandwidth. When you're running the internet, you want to make sure that you have a certain bandwidth running. But at the bottom of that window, there is a version number. And I'm going to put mine in the chat. So my version is up to date, and it's 5.11.5. If you could just follow me in the chat, and just, you don't have to put the word version, but just put the number that you see there. Do you see a number that's lower than that? 5.9, 5.8, 5.7? And this will indicate whether your Zoom is up to date or not. And so if you're not seeing 5.11.5, then your device that you're using right now is not up to date. Updating Zoom is free, and it can be done at any time except when you're in a meeting. So you'll have to wait until the meeting ends to go update it, which you can do on the web, on the Zoom website. At the end, I have a quick YouTube video if you need the instructions. And again, if you're looking to find where this version is located, a good shortcut is through that little tiny green shield. It's in the upper left corner of your screen, tiny, 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 almost in the upper left corner of the Zoom window, and has a little check mark in it. So you know you're looking for the right icon. When you click on that shield, it indicates the meeting information. And from there, you're going to look for the tiny gear symbol that's in the upper right corner of just that window. And then that will bring you to your settings, where it shows you your version number on the right-hand side. So I can see a lot of people do have 5.11.5, but then there's also a lot of you who have lower numbers. So, so for the sake of the version, I'm going to launch a different poll. Luckily, I brought two today, and this one on your screen right now is the version of polls that we've had since, well, forever. So this is the one in Zoom that you don't need the newer version for. And I'm going to show you the differences in these, because you're thinking now, well, what am I missing out on? I didn't see the first one. And this one only gives multiple choice options. So we're somewhat limited as instructors when all we can ask is true, false, A, B, C, D. and so on. The new advanced version, new improved version, lets you provide fill in the blanks to your audience. They can type in what they're missing out on, what their struggle is in their own words. You can provide images. So you could put an image in there of something that you're teaching, your content, and ask a question about it. So once you get your Zoom up to date, you'll be able to do the advanced polling, which is great. It's all a part of, this type of class is really all a part of figuring out, wow, I don't even know there was a new advanced version. So now I'd love to know in the chat, are there any no's? Give me a no if you're not seeing the poll, because now I'm seeing people are contributing. They're taking part. Thank you very much for that. I've asked you, how well do you know your Zoom? And make sure when you see the poll on your screen that you do scroll down. So there are multiple questions in just one poll. And these are all good things to tell your students as well when you're polling them. And so there's still some people who don't see it. I'd love to know if you're on a mobile device. Are you on an iPad today or a phone? Sometimes when you're on a mobile device, just so you know as well, that poll does not sit itself right in the middle of the screen. Sandy, you are on a mobile device. So that was a good guess in terms of if you're on a smaller screen or a mobile device, most definitely, you're going to look towards the top for the words. There is a poll running right now, something like that. There's like a wording that says poll running, and you'll have to tap up there if you're on a mobile device. If you're on a smaller screen, I can see Nancy is on a Mac Air laptop. Sometimes it's just scrolled off the screen, but I'll speak to most of you who have dual monitors. If you have more than one computer monitor, the poll sometimes is sitting on another screen behind another window. So that's another reason why you might not be able to see it. So in a case where I really needed you to fill these out, I would have a backup PowerPoint slide so that I could show you the questions, and then I could present them on the screen in a PowerPoint slide, and then you could be answering them in the chat for me. So that's another way, just as a backup, that you can ask the questions that are in your poll. All right, and thank you. I do see a question in the chat about asking your audiences to update, and you can certainly, in any communication that goes out ahead of time, you can certainly put in your emails, in your communications that go out to invite your students to update their Zoom. And there's a link directly to the Zoom website where you can download that. If you'd like that before you go today, just put that in the chat or hang out at the end, and I will I'll provide you with that link. It's on their download site on the Zoom website. Very easy to get to. It's free and it doesn't take long to update, and you just can't be in a Zoom meeting when you do it. So just make sure you look for that. All right, thank you very much for taking part in my Zoom questions. I'm going to end the poll right now. It does look like we have more than half of you took part in it. If you are taking part, make sure you click submit. It's not until you click submit that your questions don't register on my screen as the person launching the poll. So you also want to indicate that to your audiences when you're launching a poll. You want to talk them through it. You want to say it's on the screen right now. And if you don't see it and you don't want to take the time troubleshooting, you can certainly have the questions off on a slide. All right, thank you very much. We'll just give it 5 more seconds and see if there's anybody else who wants to submit. And then we'll talk about your answers together, because in Zoom polling, I can see your answers. I can see the percentage that answered, and you all got the share screen button correct. I love it when there's evidence on the screen somewhere of your answer, and all you have to do is look around and get a little bit of help that way. Yes, the share screen button is green. The basic and free accounts. So basic and free accounts, let's talk about this a minute. Interesting to know because we're talking about polling today. The question is true or false? Basic or free Zoom accounts, the kind that anybody can get and not pay for, do those include the polls feature? They do not. So for those out there who do think so, and everybody's like, well, of course they would, isn't it built in? So I can see how you thought that it would. It is one of very few options that said, you know what, we're not going to include that. You need a paid account in order to have the polling feature. So anybody who is an instructor, a brand new instructor, you're a school owner and you're running a class in your own Zoom account, you will need at least the pro version, which is that entry level paid, which is about $15 a month. You can get it down to about $12 a month if you pay for the whole year in advance. And then question number 3, once a Zoom meeting starts, the host can assign how many co-hosts. So our answers here were somewhat split. Some think, and it's very true, some think that the host can assign nobody because the co-host must be assigned prior. Actually, no. That is a really good guess because you'd think, well, coming in here, wouldn't they need that responsibility before it starts? And actually, no, the co-host is assigned in the meeting. However, you can have as many as you want, up to the capacity that your account can hold. So I could make you all co-hosts today because there's 28 of you. And if it was in my account, I can hold up to 100. So you can have as many co-hosts as you want. Good thing to know, isn't it? Because when you have a very large audience, if you needed some help while you're running a poll or while you're doing poll everywhere and you need someone to mute people for you or let people in from the waiting room or manage breakout rooms, then all your co-hosts will have all those capabilities. So thank you very much for participating in that poll. I'm going to stop the sharing now. I have that ability. And I'm just going to open it up to quick question. If there are any questions, Kim, that you see in the chat, at least that pertain to what we just talked about, having the right version, seeing the poll, not seeing the poll.
We have one from Jim Fletmeyer. I wonder if there's a backwards compatibility issue or a memory challenge. He's using an old laptop with the V11.1.1 and it was wonky. As a co-host, every time the results popped up, he lost the poll that he was participating in.
Okay, so here's the thing. As a co-host, you do not participate in a poll. So thank you, Jim, for asking that question. So when you assign co-hosts in your classes, they will not be the ones to participate in the poll, only your participants. So that's a very good point. And then I do see Stormy's there. That's a very good question. Do students need the paid version? And they do not. So it's only the people, Stormy, who need to create it, the people who need to create the polls, which I'm going to show you now. And I do want you to know, I'd love to know if you could say yes in the chat. Is there anybody here who teaches and shows up under an association's account or the school's account? If there are any yeses to that, I can see a few already. You'll do exactly what I did today. I'm showing up today for you, not in my account. This meeting is being graciously held in the NC RIA account. And so I had a poll to present to the audience, and that meant that my poll needed to go to the account admin. So Jim and I and Kim, we all met ahead of time so that my questions and the details for the polls needed to be entered first. So you will want to communicate that to the admin of the account who is running the class prior to. And you can put these polls in, you can put them weeks ahead of time. So it doesn't necessarily, now Jim's like, great, Betsy, why did we meet today? It can be weeks ahead of time. They can be saved in there. So just a good note to those who have that situation. And were there any specific questions about that? Let's see, there was one last question.
Bill has a question about when a student says they can't see the poll and the school has the most recent version. What do you tell the student that they need to do? They need the most recent version before they sign into the class.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right
So
answer.
when that's a very good answer. So when your students are registering for class, it would be great to put a blurb, a piece of communication in, maybe with your syllabus and the information that they need for the class pertaining to Zoom. So if this class is held via Zoom, we require that you have the proper equipment as well as keeping your Zoom up to date. I think Jim told me we were discussing this in terms of his communication out to people is that, and I tell this to people too, update before every time you're going to go into a Zoom meeting. You're going to update first, and it takes only a few minutes. So, I love for people to see when it doesn't work. I really love, I don't want this to be for you. I don't want your students to not be able to see it, but especially if you have recurring classes with your students, they don't see it the first time. All you need to do is have a backup yourself, have a PowerPoint slide or slides that have an image of those question choices so that they can participate, and they're going to put their answers in the chat for you, and they feel like they're participating. They can see the question, and then the next time they come in, they will have updated. So you can take care of it that way. So do our students have to have right. So yes, the students need to have their version up to date, just like you today. You're my students today. You need to have the up-to-date version in order to see the advanced one that I have. And can the answer to the questions be shown on the poll in a different color when discussing the answer? So the colors that you saw today are controlled by Zoom and cannot be changed. If you would like to situate your class so that you can, I've seen some people do, they'll send everybody on a break, they'll position the poll, then they'll send everybody on a 10-minute break if you have that coming to you, and create a PowerPoint slide while they're on break in the colors that they wanted, then with the data that they got. So if you feel comfortable enough to do that on a break, you can, but the way you saw the poll shared with you today is not changeable. It's given to us by Zoom. And then I'll just take one more question, and then we'll move on to the next section. So I saw Nancy's first. I have access to 3 Zoom accounts. How do I know which one it defaults to? When you're taking the class or doing the class, okay, there's a different level there.
When I'm taking a class.
Okay, so everybody should always do this. Actually, let's stop for a moment. This is a very good question. When you have multiple Zoom accounts, every time you either take a class, it's actually more important when you're hosting. So I'm really going to say it from that point of view, Nancy. When you take a class, the only thing that is a variable based on the account you're in is what your profile picture looks like. So if you have multiple accounts and you're on today, I'm on today as Betsy Coin on 2 devices. So I have a free account on my Windows laptop that has a different profile picture than the account that is on my Mac. Other than that, because I'm taking it, there really isn't anything else I have to worry about as a participant. But if you're the host, then it really matters, because the account settings will be represented based on what account you're logged in as. And if you're logged in as that account on multiple devices, it sometimes disables your polls. So you really want to double check, just as if you were going to, I don't know, fly a plane, drive a car, you would do an equipment check beforehand, make sure on every device that you are signed out, logged out. And I mean, go to your internet browser, go to Zoom, make sure you're logged out of that browser, as well as the Zoom application that is installed on that computer. Very good question. Okay, so
Can I go a little bit? The reason I asked that is because when I tried to get into this meeting, it said, hold on, let's update Zoom. And so it went through a complete update.
Okay.
But then when I went in, the way you told us to go through the shield and the gear, it still said that I had only the 0.1 version instead of the 0.5.
That's odd. I don't know what the first update was. I'd have to, these types of things are I can solve them, but it depends on what that first message actually said it was updating. So it's hard to say, Nancy. Sometimes this is a program, it's an application. Sometimes it's glitchy. So yeah, it's hard to say until I were to see your screen. Yeah. So yeah, Jim, go ahead. I see you have a question.
Thank you so much, Betsy. Folks, sorry that my camera is off. I am not Zoom pretty today. Miss Nancy, just if we want, I know we have to move on, but if you want to log out of the meeting and then come back in, I will let you back in and then double check. And I bet it will update your Zoom version when you do that. I bet it'll show the newest version.
Sure. If you'd, I'll just add on, if you'd like to hold off from doing that and wait until I teach a little bit of the poll screens and then do that maybe towards the end, I'll hang out here while you come back in. You can also do that if you want. All righty. But that's a great idea, Jim, because anybody, especially if you've got your students coming to class, encourage them to come early. I taught last year for Alabama's commission, and I had not experienced this before. I'm just going to say it. We did a sound check, people, 2 hours in advance. So there was a sound check. I mean, they had support there. You could come on and all their students showed up, and then you could just mute, turn off your camera and go, go get your beverage and get ready for class. So hey, that made an impact on me. I had not seen that before. So lots of ideas, ways that you can flush out whether people have the right version or not. You can make yourself available as the instructor to have them come in if that makes you feel more comfortable. You can certainly have an open meeting where they do that. So here's some of the information about what goes on behind the scenes is that in any of these Zoom accounts that we're talking about, whether it's yours, it's one of your 3 accounts that you own, it's the association's account, there are account settings and you need to go to zoom.us, that's what the website is called, and look for these settings where it says meetings, polls, and quizzes in order to get these new advanced ones. There is a new check mark there, a new setting. So you'll need to go in, log in, and turn that on. And you have to be the admin in order to do that. So if you are only teaching under an association account, then I would encourage you to call the admin of that account after this class today, or first thing the next morning that you can, and ask them to make sure that setting is on. This is what you'll see then. I'm going to go live in just a few minutes to show you exactly what it looks like and get a better feel for it. But here's a screenshot of what it looks like after you've turned it on. So you'll have this ability to create polls. And when you click create, now you'll have 2 options. The blue one, which is poll, has always been there. That's the poll I eventually showed for you today that had just the multiple choice options. The other one, advanced polls and quizzing, is what you'll have now. And then you can pick some of these new features that gives you the ability to add images. And think about it, you could make up your own image and then ask a question about the image. Be great that way, as opposed to having to spell it out in a multiple choice way. And then you're welcome to take a screenshot of those steps if you want to, but those are the steps to go in and create these polls. I'm going to be showing this live, but that's a way to do it. You do it from the web. You log into your Zoom account. Further, what happens is after you click create, now we're going to go down the path as if you're doing one of those advanced polls. So I'm going to go through some of the different question choices. You can see on the first screenshot where it says untitled poll. That one is a single choice. So yes, the polls that we've always had let us do multiple choice. But when Zoom calls it a single choice, it's what we know as multiple choice, where we want people to pick A, B, C, or D, and only one of those. That's what Zoom calls a single choice. As opposed to the one that I gave you, that whoever could see it, with I wanted to know what type of device that you were joining this meeting from. And so if you were joining from 2 devices today, from a Windows computer and a Mac, I wanted you to be able to pick 2 options. So there is a multiple choice. Now look at the difference in the boxes. Ones are circles and some are boxes. When you have single choice, those options come up as circles. They can only pick one of them. At the lower one, where it's called New Year, New Zoom, and in those cases, the boxes, that's when they can check off more than one. So you've got the ability to create either one of these types of questions. In addition to, now with advanced polls and quizzing, you can add what we are calling matching or rank order or short answer and long answer. So if you wanted to say, please describe in your words, what it means to be tech savvy. And I wanted to give you a spot to type out up to 2,000 characters. Then I would give you the long answer type question, and I'd be able to give you that long part to type into. Now, Zoom gives you this capability. I don't know if you want to obviously have them do that right there at the time of the class. Maybe you do. Maybe you want to have them do that over a break. Maybe it's a 1-minute paper. For those of us who do learn about active learning techniques as instructors, that's a great activity. You could have one poll and it has one question and it says, please take a minute and type your thoughts about this. And you would give the content. And then you give them one of those 2,000, long answer fields, and they just keep typing, typing, typing for the 1 minute. And you put a timer up on the screen for 1 minute, great activity. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use these. Now, the advanced polls also give us now a rating scale. You can see at the bottom there, 0 to 5 or 0 to 10. So you can now ask these types of questions. There are some of us who are using Google Forms to do this prior to this new enhancement, and now we can do it with the built-in Zoom polls. Very nice there. Here's an example of the new advanced polling where I explain that you can have an image. So if you wanted to say, what are the features in a room that pertain to this law or this regulation, and you wanted to show a picture of the room that you were talking about or teaching, and then have them write in a box, you can do that now with advanced polls. I talked about, asking them a question, which was open-ended, and there's short answer and long answer. So you can have some that are up to 500 and some that are up to 2,000. So it does give you some flexibility there. And then this is what it looks like after you've created your polls. So this is a screenshot of someone's account where it's probably my account, where your polls are listed, and it tells you what the name of the poll is, what type of poll it is, whether it's activated or not, and then you do get a date. So you can always go back to that list and reactivate them. Love this. There is a new library. So I'd love to know if there are people here on the call who have used polls before like the last couple of months. I mean, I used polls 2 years ago when I first came to RIA to teach, how to keep your businesses going in the middle of the worldwide shutdown. And we could not save our polls. You had to make a copy of the meeting in order to use that poll again. So now you've got a library of polls, and you can just go to the library, pick the poll you want. You want that one for your pre-licensing, and you can use it again and again. So yes, I see a raised hand. Jack, go ahead. You have a question?
Thank you, Betsy. I really like this idea about the students being able to write at length some answers. How do you review those answers? Because when you're in the middle of a program, you've got 50 people in class or something like that, you're not going to read it like you're reading a chat line.
Yeah, good question. So there is a poll report that is generated, and you're right. I wouldn't run an actual example like that or exercise thinking that I was going to be reviewing the answers during class. But after the meeting ends, I can go into my account or the association's account and generate and download the poll report. And then you'll be able to see the answers there. Good question. Thank you. Any other questions on that? Any questions on that? Kim in the chat, I think I just saw one there. So the library holds the polls. No need to recreate once class is ended. Correct. So I'm going to go live to show you this, but when you create the poll, you can indicate that you'd like the poll to be saved to the library. And then the poll then is not just attached to your meeting. The poll is saved in the library, where prior to this library idea or library concept that Zoom came up with, the poll was only attached to the meeting. So once the meeting ended, like, was it Michelle? Michelle just commented or asked there in the chat, then the meeting ended and there goes the poll with the meeting. So the solution I always gave people prior to this update was I always said, make your meeting into a template. And then it's like makes a copy of your meeting. And then anytime you need to run that run that set of polls, I would just make a master meeting with those polls. And then I could pick from them. Not needed anymore. Now you just have your main polls that you always run and they're sitting in the library. And then when you go into your meeting, you just pick them from the library. It's a beautiful thing. There's enough teasing on that. Let me go live now and show you exactly that. So you can see here, I'm in my Zoom account, and let me just go up here. Let me just show you if you're not familiar with the Zoom account on the web. There is a left sidebar as I scroll down here, and let's see, gonna just switch over here for those with the two monitors. I apologize for that. I'm gonna switch over to my paid account so that I can show you something a little more hardy and robust. So up on the web at zoom.us, when you log in, you're usually, when you come in here, is to show you something that you're familiar with. If you go to zoom.us, you usually see this, you see all your upcoming meetings, and you just scroll down and you find the meeting you want. Well, now across the top, there is this option. It says polls and quizzes. And when you click there, that's the library that you're seeing now. So you're able to, when you want to create a new, here we go, when you want to create a new poll, all you do is you make sure you have the poll you want in the library, and then all you do is attach it to the meeting. So let's go through the steps of how to create it that you just saw in the screenshots. So you see here, there's a blue button that says create, and all I'm on the web. You don't have to be in a Zoom meeting. You don't have to have a Zoom meeting running. This could be weeks ahead of time when your classes are coming up. Maybe you're planning the next semester of all the classes from now through the fourth quarter of the year, and you're going to put all these questions together. So you click create, and there's the screenshot from the image that we saw from the screenshot, polls versus advanced polls and quizzing. And when you go to the green one, let's do that together, since I can show it to you this way, even though you don't have the updated version, you're watching me create it. So in the example, I wanted to know, I called it Tell Me Something Good. Now that's my name behind the scenes. I'm going to see that in my list of polls. I know that's an icebreaker for me, where I'm asking my audience to tell me something about themselves. So that's totally a cosmetic name. You're going to come up with a name that you want. Then you're prompted for the name of the question. And then I always want to know something like, what device are you connecting today from? And I would spell it out a little more, but I would spell out the question, how I wanted you to read it. And then just to the right of the question, you saw a screenshot of this before. These are all of the question formats. And the question formats here, let me make this a little bit bigger for you too. Zoom has this great option called where you can share a portion of your screen. It's something I teach in my classes, and it allows you to, whenever you're showing from a website, you can do something like this, which is great. You can just share a portion of the screen, which, makes it come up bigger. In addition to, that Zoom window was only showing you the entire thing, not the center. So now you can see it a little bit up close here where I get to pick the choices. Now, I mentioned this earlier. If I wanted to give you the option to check off multiple devices, I would choose multiple choice. So remember that. That's not the typical ABCD or true false. So if I wanted to give you choices like, Windows computer, Mac computer, maybe someone was joining from a phone as well. I wanted you to be able to check off more than one device. Well, now with multiple choice, I can put in multiple options like that. Then at the bottom of the question, there is this box, required or not. Good one, right? If you click on required, they're going to have to answer that question. So they can't just scroll by it when the poll comes up. The options over here, if you were going in, just playing around and you wanted to see, you could actually, you can delete a question if you put one in. This is prior to your launching it anyway. You're kind of putting it together. You can delete one out. And then you can also indicate an image, as I mentioned earlier. So if any of your questions have to do with relating to an image, you can grab that there. And then at the bottom, there it is, the add question feature. And then all you do is you go through it again. So I'm going to just show you the other one on a scale of 1 to 5. How often do you host Zoom meetings? And here, the very bottom of the choices, there's a rating scale now. You don't get this with the other polls option. So if you have not gone through your settings and indicated that you want advanced polling and quizzes, you won't have these options. So you really want to go through and update your settings so that you can have all these great new features and ways that you can engage with your audience. And so if I said on a scale of 1 to 5, well, now I want to change these numbers here, and I can change these in the rating scale from 1 to 5. And then here I can also label it. So 1 being never hosted, and then I could say 5 being host on average 3 times per month. I don't know, something like that. But I can have these as labels so that when people see the numbers, sometimes they think 1 is like the highest, right, rating, and we don't want them to misunderstand. And then at the very bottom here is the save. But before we go there, look at this at the very bottom of my screen. There it is. There's 3 dots. And when we click there, you can indicate whether you want people to answer them anonymously. Make sure that's not checked based on what the question was earlier about, I think it was Jack that asked about the report. If you want to print the report out and see people's names, then don't check that one. And if you wanted to turn this into a quiz, you could do that. Now, this one doesn't pertain. How would you ask questions about what device and make it a quiz? But remember the one I asked you with what color is the share screen button and how many co-hosts can you have and do free accounts use polling? I could make that into a quiz and indicate my correct answers. And then I could have some sort of way of assigning point values. So you can do that now too in Zoom as well. And then all you do is you click save. And then that poll is listed in your list here. So you can see there, I do have 2 of them to tell me something good. And that's just because I've typed it more than once. So you can rename these. So I could go up here, I could click at the end and I could put something like this if I wanted to. And then once I save it, I will know the difference in my list there. Very nice. So now let me just go back to the full screen for you like that. And then you can see this is live in my account. And exactly what you're going to see when you go in to type all of your poll information as well in the built-in feature. So are there any questions for me before I switch over to Poll Everywhere?
Yeah, you do have two questions in the chat, Betsy. One comes from Aisha, and she wants to know how you click just to show a portion of your screen. And the second question is from Michelle. She doesn't have poll library options. Does the administrator have that?
Okay. And okay, so I'm going to go to Michelle first, and then the portion of screen, that's a goodie. That's a goodie, and that has nothing really to do with polls, but I know that's a really good Zoom tip. So for Michelle first, the poll library option, just while I'm here live with you, I am going to show you this. Let me just get in a little closer here for you. And again, on the web, in your account, you're going to go to your account settings. And let me take a minute here to make sure you know that there's a difference on the web in accounts with the user level or the admin level. So if you look here on my left sidebar right now, I am the admin of this account that you're seeing on the screen. I'm on the web, I'm on zoom.us, and I'm logged in as me. Even though I'm on today as a guest co-host to NC RIA, I'm just looking at the web right now. So all of you could be doing this right now in your own browser window if you wanted to while I'm here with you, and you could log into your own account and check it out. If you're the admin, Michelle, then you're going to see two areas on the left side. But if you've been given, let's say, a user account on your association that you teach for, or your school that you would teach for, then you won't see that admin section on the left-hand side. So why do I make that distinction for you? It's because some of these settings, like library and like advanced polls, could only be at the admin level. So I'm going to say, if you don't see it, please contact your admin. It would be really important for them to know. Sometimes they don't know. When I teach for schools and associations and I get to this level with them, they're like, I didn't even know that was there. I didn't even know I had to turn that on. So it's a great, great like public service announcement, right? Go contact Betsy and she'll help you through this. So now we take you to the next step, which is I'd like you to follow me as we look in the admin section, since I can do that for you as your admin today. In the left-hand side, there is an item called account management. And then underneath there, it says account settings. Like, oh, I didn't even know that. There were like these two. Yeah, there's two places that settings are listed. And when you get in here as the admin, now you're looking at the settings, like it blankets over the entire account. And if I had multiple users on my account, anything I change in here would apply to all users, as opposed to just the person who was logged in at this time. And then there are so many settings. As you can see, I'm scrolling through all of them, and you just have to scroll and scroll and scroll, or you could search for them until you get here. And I'll just kind of do that portion of screen that I'm just loving. And you kind of get in here and you make it a little bit smaller. It'll let me. And okay, like that. And so there you see the section, meetings, polls, and quizzes. And there are 4 checkboxes. You can take a screenshot of this if you're like, I got to go find that in my account. And first of all, the switches on the right side, they're either blue or they're gray. The ones that are blue indicate that that feature is turned on. And I always say to people, if you want to know the secret to having a successful Zoom meeting, even before it starts, it's turning on your settings. Your co-host setting has to be on in order to get that co-host capability. Your breakout room setting has to be on in order to get that capability. So you want to go in here. And then Michelle, for you, here's that last check mark. There it is. Allow users to manage saved polls and quizzes from meetings. That's the goods right there. That's what you need to get the library. And then you asked about anonymously. The anonymously part, when you're running a poll, that's a very good question, by the way. Thank you for asking it. When you're running a poll, it is always anonymous, whether you check that or not. So when you're running it on the screen, you all could not see everybody else's answers today. When I asked you what color is the share screen button and how many co-hosts can you have, you did not see each other's names. You only saw percentages, how you answered. And today's poll was not run anonymously. When you run the report and you get the answers afterwards, if it was not anonymous, then you're going to see everybody's email addresses indicated in there in the report. So that's where that was referring to. Thank you very much. And then for, let's see, Aisha. Okay, so I have a feature, luckily, turned on my computer. Okay, here you go. So now you're seeing my screen. I know it looks busy. I'm going to make it into speaker. Okay, you're seeing, that's my screen. I just changed the view button in the upper right corner. Look, you see my chat. I got my chat on. You're seeing the host screen, and I have this setting which lets you see my Zoom windows. I love it because now I can click on things and you're actually going to see it. So this is for you, Aisha. When I want to show you portion of screen, this is the share screen that I always teach in all of my, I have a Zoom mastery program. Like I've done this now for 2 years, as Kim mentioned at the beginning. I know the ins and outs of this program. And this section of my lessons, my training videos, I love the best because people always stay on this tab, the basic tab, right? There it is. They're like, oh, I know this whiteboard. I can share my phone and then any applications I have. And then look down here, I can do my sound or my video. But I want you to notice the second tab. The second tab here has some new options on it. You can do your PowerPoint as a virtual background. Who knew? You can do here, portion of screen. So that's what you're going to pick. And you're going to go in there and you're going to click share. And actually, by the way, while we're here, if any of you like to use a document camera so that you can use a regular notebook or even a regular whiteboard, because you miss those days when you're like writing on a regular whiteboard, you can put that on your desk and have a document camera. They sell these, they range in price from, I'm going to say like, 70 to 200, somewhere in there. I think mine costs closer to 150. It's called the IPEVO, IPEVO. Hang out at the end if you want to know that, or put it in the chat and I'll send you that information. Document camera, so you can just share from a second camera. Anyway, this is a side topic, but it does improve your virtual presentation skills. And when you do portion of screen, okay, so now you're not seeing my screen anymore, but what happens now is I get this little viewfinder, I'll call it that. It's kind of like a Ouija board, like a little viewfinder that I can move around with my mouse pointer. And Aisha, when I make it really small like this, it zooms in, pun intended, to the area on the website. And I did this with some real estate instructors who say, this is great. When I go to any type of regulation or form on a website, all the verbiage is so small and it's so hard to do when you're doing a regular share. So this one is really helpful in that case. And then all I do is I just do my new share back to the regular browser window, and then I'm back. All righty, beautiful.
We had 2 more questions, Betsy, if now's a good time.
All right, go for it.
One from Jack is, explain enable slide, please.
Enable slide. Can I have a little more information? What was that from?
Actually, you did that earlier, enabling those different features, the slide to the right where it was either blue or gray. So
Oh, okay.
got that.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
And the second question was, if you create libraries in one account, can it be shared with another account?
Not automatically. No, it would have to be done manually. So you would just have to have, two devices. So no, there's no easy way to answer that in a sense. Just have all of your questions in a Word document or a Google Doc. And then Google Doc's great because then you can just bring them up on that other device where that other account is, and then copy and paste them in. That's really what you're going to be looking at. Yeah. Not yet. I should always say not yet. When people ask me about Zoom stuff, hey, it could be coming. I actually, I concentrate on what's coming in the upcoming updates to Zoom, and stay with me, because what's coming is the ability in breakout rooms to share your microphone audio from the main meeting room into breakout rooms. It's like, ooh. So these are the types of things that really float my boat. And yeah. So, okay, let me bring you back here to, we're going to switch gears a little bit. And we're going to do some poll everywhere now, so that you can see the difference of running a poll that is fun and engaging, but is not built in. And this company called Poll Everywhere does let you have a free account, and you can, let me just bring back my presentation here. And you, at this point in today's presentation with me, you're going to use your phone at this point. So what I'd like you to do is, grab your phone, and you can also let me know if you don't have a mobile device with you. There is another way to participate here, so you can certainly indicate that in the chat if you need help with something other than a mobile device. The way Poll Everywhere works, and yes, we're going to play together first, and then I'm going to show you how it's created. So on the screen in front of you is a slide I've put together, and on the right side it says what you're going to text. So you're going to open up your phone and you're going to navigate to your texting app. You have an Android phone, you're like as if you're going to be sending me a text message. And if you have an iPhone, you're going to do the same. And instead of putting Betsy's name, you don't have my phone number, you're going to pretend that my phone number is 37607. So just like it says there, text to. So the to is who you're sending it to. And so in the to box, you're going to type in 37607. And it's very possible, if you've done Poll Everywhere before as a participant, it might be there in your memory. So you can actually tap on it. And I want you to follow along here. Try not to get a little bit ahead. I know it tells you what to do next on the screen. The reason is, and you want to indicate this to your audiences as well, because the next thing that's going to happen, your phone is going to get connected to the Poll Everywhere gaming device, because I have an account with them on the web and I've signed in. So it's like hanging there in the wings, waiting for you all to connect. So what you're going to do next is, as if you're going to say hello, you're not going to type hello, you're going to type the message that you're going to type to me is my name. So as you see on the screen, BETSY with a letter C. Now be careful here that it doesn't do any autocorrect for you. Your phone tries to be like, hey, that's not the correct word. So just go slow. We're not in any rush here per se. Betsy C, as in coin, C, 179. And there shouldn't be any spaces. And it, like I said, don't let it do a spell check or autocorrect on you. Once you see that that's correct, and when you proceed, you might see a message appear with a link. Do not click the link or tap the link. The link is certainly there for people who might want to peruse their ads. I don't want you to go down that rabbit hole today on ads for Poll Everywhere. So you will get a prompt in your phone that says something like, you've joined Betsy Coin session, something like that. And you don't have to type a thing. It might ask you to please verify or say yes to the fact that you will, it's a text message. And so back in the day when we all had to pay typically on our accounts, and you might still have an account like that where you have to pay for certain messages. You have to say, yep, that's okay. But other than that, you should be good to go. And what happens next is in Poll Everywhere, as your instructor today, I have prepared a PowerPoint slide in my Poll Everywhere. So I have connected the two. I've connected my Poll Everywhere account with my PowerPoint. And so what you're seeing on the screen right now is my Poll Everywhere activity. And I have put these questions in ahead of time. And I'm going to show this to you live in just a few minutes. But first, let's participate. So what you're going to do on your phones now is you're going to answer this question: which of the following frustrates you the most about technology? Either A, B, or C. And so you're going to put the letter in that pertains to what frustrates you the most. And it does take the matter of putting the letter in and hitting the send button as if you were sending this as the text message again to that person. And my hands are off the keyboard. I'm not doing a thing here. This is Poll Everywhere doing its thing automatically. It's really magical that I can have an account. I can have a free account in Poll Everywhere, and I can involve my audience virtually with your devices. And we can have a discussion here about what you're thinking, what you learned, what your assessment is at the end of the course, what your pre-assessment is coming into a course. I mean, there's so many ways you could use this. And the poll on a free account does close after a certain time. So you might find that if you wait a long time to answer, if I give you that enough time to answer and you were typing and you're like, hey, wait a minute, I didn't see it move at all. You know, why didn't it register mine? And it could be that if the poll has reached its capacity, because on free accounts, it does have a capacity. So thank you very much for answering that. I love these types of answers because I get to see, if you answered honestly, I get to see where the frustration lies with technology, because I work with people all the time who have these frustrations. So thank you very much for taking part. Is there anybody who has a question here about the workings of how I did this? I waved my magic wand and all of a sudden it came up on the screen. No, anybody, very good? You all did that beautifully, by the way. Thank you for taking part in that. I'm going to
there is a question in chat, Betsy. Can you enable Poll Everywhere results screen into PowerPoint to keep from having to open a new window?
That's what I just did with you. Yes. So the answer is yes. I enabled, I think that's what the question was. I have Poll Everywhere. I'm going to show you this in just a moment. Poll Everywhere is actually a slide. All I did is I advanced my PowerPoint to the next slide, and this came up on the screen. I did not do anything else. I didn't go to a browser window. I didn't do a new share, nothing. So you just saw it as I believe the question was asked. And I think I just said something about sometimes it doesn't show right. I just got a peek of that next question. And I'll just, if for some reason when you're running your polls, if you just feel like they're not showing right, I think that's the question that maybe Aisha just asked. But there's a bit of prep that you do ahead of time with Poll Everywhere. Since it's a separate account, it's outside of Zoom, it's outside of PowerPoint. And prior to me teaching you today, the last time I did Poll Everywhere was over a month ago. I went on a big road trip last month, so I didn't do any Poll Everywhere on any of my remote classes last month. So I needed to come in and log into my Poll Everywhere and run my PowerPoint and get to this slide and make sure that it was updated and make sure the last responses were cleared out and things like that. So that's one way I would help you troubleshoot it. Here's your next one. If you would take part in this next poll, what is your application to use for presentations? I'd love to know. Are you using PowerPoint? Are you using Keynote? Are you using Google Slides? Or do you use the brand new, not so brand new, but wonderfully equipped Canva, which is really adding on lots of new features? If you haven't learned Canva, I would tell you to take a peek at that. So again, for those who asked, and thank you very much, look, no hands, you're answering, the numbers are moving. And as people adjust and even change their answers, the numbers will adjust. And so you can, in your classes, wait a certain amount of time, encourage them to take part, and then talk about the answers there. And yes, a majority of us use PowerPoint. Congratulations. It is the one application out there that is used worldwide, across the board. The most effective is what certain feedback and tests that people run. It is universal. It can be used on a Mac or a PC. For those who don't know, Keynote, also great application, can only be used on a Mac. Well, it most likely is used on a Mac computer. And then Google Slides, great option because that can be used in the cloud. So if you do move around, you can log in from any device in any location and you can get your Google Slides because they're saved in the cloud. So Canva, I spoke about. So thank you very much. You can see once Poll Everywhere is set up and I got you connected to my account, all you had to do was answer appropriately. You didn't have to do that whole texting thing again over. So it is very easy once it's set up and all the slides are in there. So I encourage you to, well, follow along. I'm going to show you some of the information behind the scenes. But before I do that, I just want to indicate that there are free accounts. I searched on an education account under higher ed. So if you do not have a Poll Everywhere account yet, and you're interested in looking for a free account, on a higher ed account, you get 40 responses on coming in. If you have a regular free account from their site, you get 25 responses, which often is enough. It's just interesting to know that they do have these higher ed plans, and across the board, whenever you're using third-party programs, always look into the fact that they might have education levels. And this is directly from Poll Everywhere's site. So if you are paying for Poll Everywhere, then it does get kind of costly. So I've always heard people say this, they're like, you know what, I'll stay with the free because it's really fun to use, really worthwhile. And you know what? You can give some sort of urgency when you start the slide. You can say, okay, everybody get ready, get your phones ready. All right, so the first 25 are going to be the ones registered on the screen. Get your answers in, and you can really make it more competitive if you like that feel. So there's the printout for the higher ed, comparing the features there.
And
Okay.
Betsy, there was a question about Poll Everywhere. Can you embed that in Canva as well as, I know you can in PowerPoint?
Right, you cannot do the embedding in Canva. So what I always advise people to do, since Canva is a cloud-based application, what you're going to do when you're presenting in Zoom is you're going to have your Canva presentation in one browser window, and you're going to have your Poll Everywhere logged in another browser window. Poll Everywhere is from a browser, and that's a perfect transition because this screenshot right here is directly from logging in to Poll Everywhere. So when you log into your account, you will see this, and all you're going to do then to present is there's a presentation button, which you'll see in just a moment when I get to that point. What I'd love to know from you, because I don't know who's using Poll Everywhere already. Now I'm going to ask you to answer in a different way, not the chat. So if you look now, I'm going to ask you a question about using Poll Everywhere. Is yes or no? So there's a reactions button down at the bottom of your screen. And if you click on reactions right now, please do so. There are some buttons there. And in the second row of buttons, there's a green circle and a red circle. And I'd like you to answer green for yes, red for no. Have you been lucky enough to actually get a Poll Everywhere account and try it out? Give me a yes, if that's you. And if you're like, nope, not yet. That's why I'm here, Betsy. I'm going to be doing this soon. Give me a no. So just to show me, where are you at right now? A yes or a no. And as we look around the screen, we can see everybody's answers. These are persistent answers, meaning they will stay on the screen. So we could discuss them if we wanted. Do you see? We're doing a poll right now, everybody. So if you wanted to, you could do a poll this way. Real off the cuff, discussion based. I could have stopped my share if I wanted to. I have you all up there on a gallery in front of my screen right now, and I'm looking around, and I can discuss these answers with you. I can also look in my participants list. As a co-host or a host, you get a tally. So I can see how many yeses I have and how many no's. So if you've got hundreds of people, you don't have to necessarily look and count. You can just look in your participants list. It's a great one, using your reactions to poll the audience. Just wanted to have you experience that and also remember it, because now that polls are, on your mind as far as using the built-in, using poll everywhere, you've always got this one, have a discussion and then have them pick up the reaction. So thank you for answering too. I can see that, there's a number of you, great, who have been in there, got the account, trying it out. And probably today is maybe allowing you to fill in some of those gaps that you're wondering. Please ask your questions. And for those who are brand new to it, welcome. These are all new features that as you get used to, train your eye. I always say to people, train your eye on what you're looking at. And that's what I'm going to do right now with you. I'm going to train your eye and go live to my Poll Everywhere account here. I have
While you're doing that, Betsy, Nancy had a question about, is there a shortcut to switch screens in Zoom?
There is a shortcut, and I'll so if you wouldn't mind, can you remind me of that one? I'm just going to go through the Poll Everywhere. The reason is I'm going to come back around and do my share screen again, like I do from this computer in front of me. The quick answer without me demonstrating it is, remember this, in the share screen bar, as the sharer, there's a button that says new share. You don't always have to stop the share and start again. That's what you would want to get rid of, actually. You haven't seen me do that a lot today. The only time I've stopped the share is when I want to go from one device to another. If I'm staying on one device, I can do a new share, and then it's seamless. You just pick the next screen that you want to go to, and I can demonstrate that later. What you're seeing here now is live. I love going live, love screenshots, because if you're working in an area where there's low internet and you have to rely on always being able to show something that you would show on the web, always have the screenshots available. I love going live because I can click around here. This is my live account, and this is Poll Everywhere. And when you get in here, we are at polleverywhere.com. For those who have never been here, I know I had a couple of you here today who are learning it for the first time. Some of the things I'm going to stress for you are the organization of your polls. And your polls are called activities, and they can be organized in folders. Now, I say can be because if you just jump right in and start creating, they won't be organized in folders. So what I'm going to have you do first, after learning today for me, is I'm going to have you go to your activities. It'll look just like this, although it won't have any folders. You can see all the different places I've taught and things I've done, and they're in folders. Well, if I wanted to add an NC-RIA folder, or maybe the school you teach for, you can see there's a button there that says folder. And so I'd advise you to do that first. I know it's going to be empty, but we're going to type in the name of it. And then I'm just going to say with my name, because I think I have one there already, just so that we can distinguish. And you do create folder. And then it's going to be listed alphabetically. So yep, I had one there already, but the one for Betsy is now there listed. And then you're going to go into the folder. And like I indicated, it's empty because we haven't created any yet. But at the top now at the folder, when you click that blue button, activity, those are the polls, and activity is the poll. It's going to be in the folder. which is so nice. Because then when you want to go back and find it later, you don't have to do that. I know I saved it, but where did it go? You know, always that feeling you get. This way it'll be there in the folder. When you click create activity, this is what it looks like. And across the top here in those colorful light blue and green icons, those are all the different types. I did multiple choice with you today. And I asked you, what frustrates you the most? And just, I would say similar. I'm just gonna shorten it there, just so you can see me typing and where it goes. But think about what I did with you at the beginning of the class with Zoom polls when we typed the question. So we were typing the question, it was just in a slightly different box. Here, we're typing it here, and then underneath where it has the check mark, you're going to say what the option is. So, teach virtually with in-person and virtual audiences. You're going to type your options that you want to put there. I had something like what's in the cloud, something like that. So you're going to put the options that you want to have displayed to your audience. If you needed a third and fourth option, then you're going to click add option there. I wouldn't do more than 4 because the text on the screen starts to get smaller. And then this other one was I'm going to say something like organizing my files or something like that. And then finally, you click create in the bottom right corner. And that's it, guys, that's it. You just created a poll. If you were following along with me or you watch this replay back, this is being recorded today, so you can just go in and put your question in, put all your options in, and it even previews for you what it's going to look like. Notice that there is no A, B, C. It doesn't show it to you in this view. This is you behind the scenes doing your editing. There is a button in the upper right corner that says present. Now watch what happens. That's where the letters appear when you hit present. So that's what they're going to see when it appears on your screen. Now, here's the thing. The PowerPoint is not involved right here. I'm in my browser. I am, oh my goodness gracious. All right, 1 second. Sorry, I have someone at the door. Sorry, I have to do this. Hold on. I should say talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves, group activity.
I was trying to figure out.
Somebody's dog has got my dog going crazy.
I was trying to figure out whose dog is barking. Let me mute them, but it was Betsy, so I couldn't mute her.
Well, I think today I learned that just and there's oh. You thought it was Jack. Stop
That
it.
was Jack's dog.
It makes sense to just do my poll everywhere from the web rather than doing it on PowerPoint, because PowerPoint gets quirky sometimes. Like sometimes the sizes look weird and you can see the squares and I can't make it work. So that's it.
That's a great point, Aisha. You could just do it directly from the web and just open up just share that window when you get there. 2 different ways to get, there's always more than one way to skin the cat. And for those of you who have dogs barking in the background, I apologize for mentioning cats.
My dog wasn't barking, y'all. Just saying.
By the way, this is Jim Fletmeyer. Interesting comment to make is that if you'll notice, several of us still have our checks and our the responses up. We will have to remind students to clear those. And the way that you clear those, you can clear them for yourself in the same reaction button. But I can imagine that being just another tiny little hiccup.
Yes, I'm back. So sorry for that. Every now and then the postman arrives and there's a certified letter and you have to sign it. And that's why they keep bringing, and I'm back. So luckily I got a little puppy dog that lets us know that there's somebody there. And I just heard Jim's comment about the reactions that can be cleared. And you do have a way in the participants list as the host or co-host to clear all feedback as well. So if you you could do that. And that's on your list there. Okay, so at this point, I have not involved PowerPoint at all. And in Poll Everywhere, you could, if you were the Canva person asking the question, you could just be presenting in one tab and then have Poll Everywhere in the other. And you're in one browser, so you're using one browser window. If, however, you want to incorporate PowerPoint into the mix, this is how it's going to look for you. And you would use the, let me bring this up here. So you're going to use in the PowerPoint screen. So I'm going to share this way so that you can actually see my PowerPoint and the editing version of PowerPoint, where on the left-hand side, you can see my slides that I was showing you with the screenshots. And then you get to these, that one with the dark background and then with the white background. Those were the two Poll Everywhere slides that you answered for me. And those have been, they have been inserted directly into my PowerPoint program. I used the integration between the two. And what I'd like you to do is look across the top in the PowerPoint screen. There is a Poll Everywhere ribbon. This is the Windows version, by the way. If you use a Mac, when you integrate Poll Everywhere, it's slightly different in that it uses a separate program. That's all. Their Poll Everywhere is running and PowerPoint's running. In the Windows version, you get this Poll Everywhere window or ribbon bar. And then when I click there, look at this, you have a new button. And when you click there on new, it asks you for the activity. And so let's see, so it's not showing you the pop-up. There is a pop-up where I then am going to indicate my folder, and then I'm going to pick on the poll that I wanted, and then I'm going to insert the slides. So I know you didn't see those last 3 clicks, but there's the result of my doing that. How beautiful is that? So I had another poll that you have not run yet. I know I asked you this question before, but there it is. And so if I was doing this in the PowerPoint, this is how they are embedded or integrated in there. And all I have to do now is run the show, in a sense, run my PowerPoint, and it will look like this. So when you're running your show and you go in there and you advance, let's go back. Oops, sorry, hold on one second. So when you go back, let's go back to this one. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's better. And then I'm just going to go back so you see. I'm going to go back to this slide, and then I'm going to run it from there. Okay, this is where we were. I indicated, I'd explained to you, and all I did is I advanced, one finger advanced to the next slide. And so the embedded Poll Everywhere slides, I'm just going to advance to the next slide. And now look, here's the next one that I added. And we haven't answered that together. So this poll now, in a sense, it's live because I'm logged into my account, and the slide activity is embedded in the PowerPoint presentation. Any questions on that? And yes, you can certainly answer that question, because I know we're rounding down now to the end of our time together. I know we've interwoven the questions. It's been beautiful today. Love all of your questions that have come up.
Aisha had one that is kind of confusing me a little bit, Betsy. She's talking about sharing in PowerPoint and seeing little squares.
That's okay. It's okay. The squares that when you were on your instructor side of the screen, the little squares that were up on the edges of the PowerPoint, those were the squares I was talking about. And sometimes when I click show, it doesn't give me the full screen. I still see the squares.
Okay, on the full screen of the PowerPoint.
So when you go back to your side, like before you logged into your account, when you're using a poll for it to work correctly.
Let's see.
I've tried that, but I don't, and it only messes up sometimes. And so I was wondering if there was a something that I did wrong.
Okay, if I
But it's
went
okay.
to, that's all right. If I went to, let's see. So maybe this will jog your memory. Because I actually want to go back to this. Yeah, it's funny how it's sometimes glitchy. So I'm going to go past these anyway, because I want to show you this one last slide here. So, okay, beautiful. All right, so did that help you, Aisha, with the boxes in PowerPoint at all? When I had this type of view, was that?
It's okay.
Okay, it was different than that?
I don't want to
Okay.
mess you guys up. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. You can certainly hang out and ask me. I wanted to run this one last type of poll with you, and this involves annotating. This is another way to ask your audience what they thought or what they're feeling or what they need. So today, okay, granted, we didn't do breakout rooms together, but I thought, if you wanted to be engaging with your audience, we went over, well, we experienced 3 of the 4 today together. If we had time, we would have had breakout rooms and I would have had you in groups and we would have discussed what you thought, and then you'd come back and we'd have an engaging activity with polls that way. And I could ask each team what they thought. I want to know now, in each of these 4 quadrants, I want you to answer which one of these features do you love the most, and with a heart. Now, how do you get a heart to actually appear on the screen? Well, you're going to annotate it. So up at the top of your screen where you see you are viewing Betsy Coin's window, you see it's in a green bar. You're viewing Betsy Coin's window, and there's a button next to it. It says View Options. If you click there, you can then choose Annotate. Go ahead and click Annotate, and you'll get a bar. And on the bar, there's a button that says Stamp. I know you're going right for the draw. Everybody wants that draw. But there's a stamp button. So if there's one of these that you just love the most, give it a bunch of hearts. Did you love Poll Everywhere? Did you love the reactions, the way I used that with the polls? Did you love the Zoom polls? And then are you just a fan of breakout rooms? Maybe you just love it all. You can use the heart stamp. And as the person sharing the screen, what I can do is I also have the ability to annotate the screen sharer. And what I can do is I can clear everybody's drawings. I can do that. Sorry about that, but I got to show you. So as you're showing your love, I see some people have found the star. So if you wanted to ask people, which one would you rate 5 stars of all of these is like most effective? I'm definitely going to use that one. You can also ask them to show their rating of something by clicking in the quadrant with the stars. And the annotate features not only can be done here, annotating on my PowerPoint slide, but you can also bring up the whiteboard and use annotating that way. So this is another great way to take a poll. I just got your answers, not a way that necessarily I can count, see a percentage, but I could take a screenshot, and the screenshot is in the annotate toolbar. It says save. So everybody could take their own screenshot if you wanted to. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that we were able to just summarize it that way. I can see that, I know I demonstrated the clearing, but I could see that many of you were loving up on that built-in Zoom polls, as well as this Poll Everywhere. It's, great to have these features. All right, so that allows me now to just finish out. I can clear all your drawings, because if I didn't do that and I went on to the next slide, it would be very difficult to show the next slide because the annotation stays on there. And here's my information if you want to contact me afterwards. Thank you very much for allowing me to teach you today and introduce you to my puppy dog as well. I know that I turn it back to you, Kim, or I know that you wanted to finish up.
I think Candace is going to sign us out. Candace, are you
Yes.
right here?
Oh, yep, I'm right here. Hey, Betsy. Hello, and thank you so much. I think all of us really got a lot of really good information that we're going to apply. Yes, can we give her a round of applause? Yay! And a welcome home from North Carolina. This has been amazing. And we're going to have another one. What's the date? Does anybody know the date on that?
I do. It's
Okay.
September. it's September 16th. I know that for sure. Yes.
September 16th. So it's going to be an amazing September. And what we're going to do is we'll go from that to the fall conference, which I am just dying to have. So I think that's going to be all of our educational opportunities, unless you are going to Travis's Tuesday mornings. So right now we are focused in NC RIA on making things better. We don't take questions from people named Malia, but did anybody else have any questions?
Thank you so much, Miss Candace. By the way, I think everyone knows here, Miss Candace is our president-elect, and I am looking forward to serving under her. She's going to do an awesome job. Miss Betsy, do you want to take just a second and let folks know what we're going to dive a little deeper into in the next section?
Sure. Actually, I wanted your permission to see if people could, for those on with us today, if you could email me your questions pertaining to, from what you learned today, which area where you want to dive deeper, because in the next section, whenever I go to another level, take it from the beginner, especially learning about you today, that there are some that knew this already and want to know more. So I'll give you an example. Zoom polls. I would expect many of you, maybe all, are going to come back next time and your Zoom's going to be updated for sure. And you're going to want to experience an advanced polls and quizzes. You've certainly learned today, you could go through it. You have a month. You could go through and actually create them. Once you start creating it on your end, you're going to have some more questions for me. Like, oh, I tried it inserting an image and this is what happened. So I can go that route because I have the ability to custom design it for you. On the other hand, Poll Everywhere, today was a real good overview, right? How do you get into your account? What are the components and how does it get together? So do you want me to take you deeper and get you into how to connect it with PowerPoint? Or do you want that to be more of, I need more of my folder and where do the activities go? And now I know I teach for a certain number of schools, maybe I have different courses and I need multiple folders. So I can go that route too. So I'm gonna answer the question that way, in that it can go any one of those. Or do you want more ways of engaging with polls across the board in Zoom? And I can certainly do that as well. How's that?
Betsy,
That's
I
a
have
lot,
question. I'm
Betsy
sorry.
Coyne. That's awesome. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Betsy, I have a slightly different question. When it comes to polls, do you have any personal feeling about or feedback about how often you should use polls? I mean, like in a 4-hour continuing education class, is there sort of a bit of a guidance there?
Oh, dear Lord, Betsy. Tom, can we take that question? He is trying to back you into a corner. Let me answer that for her. She doesn't have an opinion, Tom. Discuss that with Lan.
I have an opinion, but not for today, I guess. Not for this discussion. Actually, we could probably have a discussion offline about that, about what I think, not necessarily in the state of North Carolina, but what I think when I run them. So hope that helps.
Well, but I'm in agreement with Tom, and I didn't take Tom's question as a, hey, let's say something negative about the real estate commission. Right. I I didn't take it that we were going to talk negatively about the North Carolina Real Estate Commission.
Oh,
I have
I was
that
just
same
giving-
question, Tom. I'm going to do
I was just giving
whatever-
Tom a hard time. I
hold on.
apologize.
Wait, Jim. Okay, Jim, hold on a second. So for my own, I'm going to do whatever the Real Estate Commission wants me to do when I'm in there teaching what they want me to teach. When I'm teaching my other classes, I am very interested in hearing Betsy's comment, and I did not take Tom's question as being we're going to say something negative about NC-REC.
That was
So can we
actually
just
what I
talk
was
about it
getting
for a
to,
moment?
how many to embed in my lecture.
So
Right.
I would always, Tom, the way I would answer it if I were given that question anywhere I teach, because people always want to know, how do I work this into my classes, Betsy? You've just taught me some great features, and now I need to know, how often I do it and how long they are, how many questions should I have? So a good precedence to take, first of all, I would always say to anyone, you work for a school, you work for an association, you work for a state, and you need to find out, what guidelines do you have to follow? So then within those guidelines, I would say as an instructor point of view, especially when you're running a poll and you know that you want to take, as the instructor, I want this poll to only last maybe, I'm going to say a minute and a half. Could go that short. So I'm going to make sure that I only offer so many questions on that poll. In Zoom, see, I can tell you from the technical point of view, you can have a number of polls that are all available to you in one meeting. And then each poll can have multiple questions or even one question. So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of meeting the needs of both your students and the regulations, if that's what you're trying to do. So that's how I would answer it. Good.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Not for me. It wasn't. If you have a 50-minute time period in a 4-hour class or an 8-hour class or a 4-day class or a 10-day class in a 50-minute time period, what is a good rule of thumb for how many questions? Just a rule of thumb.
According to what guidelines. So I would always go by, Malia, is, in a 50-minute time frame, I want to make sure that every 10 minutes or so that I am not lecturing the whole time, that I am pausing, that I am involving some sort of engagement. I don't have to follow certain regulations in your state. So I have the ability to work in all kinds of engagement. I have crossword puzzles and word scrambles and jigsaw puzzles and breakout rooms.
Right.
So if I know that I have to work in so many polls in 50 minutes, then if I am given those restrictions, then I can't answer your question to the point that you need it, because I don't follow those regulations in your state.
There's no regulations about how many polls that we have to have. I was just, forget it. I appreciate your time.
Okay.
I appreciate your time. I do lots of engagement as well. And I am familiar with the every 10 minutes.
Okay.
I was just curious about within that 5 times of engaging the student in a 50-minute period, then like a couple of polls and the other interaction, or
I've learned, and I take from my teachings, actually through National RIA as a gold standard instructor, that when I plan a course, I plan it based on that theme of the course and what I'm teaching. And because I teach a lot of tech, there's a lot of hands-on and engagement. So the way I would answer it might be different than the way you might answer it teaching code of ethics or fair housing or even pre-licensing. So I don't think that question maybe right now can be answered. I think maybe, yeah, I think based on what we're all learning together, it can be answered though, on how many you think are appropriate. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, and Jack Burnish, I did see you had your hand up. I don't want to say I didn't see it. Do you still have that question?
I do. You had mentioned somewhere back in when we were talking today about having more than one share screen up, where you could go back and forth between share screens without having to eliminate one and upload another one. I either misunderstood that, or if you did mean that, could you share a little bit how to do that? That'd be interesting to be able to go from one screen to another like that.
Yeah, sure. So this, and I know you're right, thank you for the reminder. This was, I'm going to put it back in speaker again. And again, I'm showing you my screen exactly as you see it. So I could have the participants up and I could have the chat up on the screen like that. If I go to my share bar, there is a button in there. I'm just going to bring it up here so it's closer on the screen there. There it is. There is a button on there in the middle that's green. It says new share, Jack. So when I have a share on the screen, I'm going to pick new, and then I'm going to go to something else. Like if I wanted to do the whiteboard, I could then pick that instead. So instead of stopping the share, I can switch right over to the whiteboard that way. And if I wanted to get back to the browser, I could do new share again without stopping the share. So that's what you're seeing. I'm clicking new share, then I'm picking the option, and then I'm clicking share from there. So it's seamless. And that way you can go from one to the next. If you had PowerPoint as an option, you could do that as well. It's very nice. Did that help?
No, so you're saying that if I'm sharing a screen, I can go click on the share screen and click new share, and a new share will pop up, but you won't see the first one. You'll just see the second one, right?
You always see the result. So the
Okay.
last one that you chose, correct.
Okay. Now, if I want to go back to the original share, I go back to the share screen tool again.
If you want to go back to the original share, you're going to do new share again.
So,
like this, you're going to do new share again. And
right.
then if you're switching between these three down here, Jack, you're just going to do new share again. You're going to pick the next one, and then you're going to do share.
Okay. Yep. If I want to go back and forth, I just go to new share every time. If they don't see that part, they just see them flipping back and forth.
You got it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I've got my money's worth.
Price of admission. You're welcome. Okay. And yes.
Well, folks, I was just going to say, I know we have learned a lot. Thank you so very, very much, Ms. Coyne. We know we need to let her go. I did want to address, despite my poorly delivered attempt just to give Tom a hard time, I think Tom and Malia hit on a great point. And I just wanted to share one one sort of guideline that I was given that I've just started playing with, is that so long as you do 2 other engagement techniques at least between polls, you're okay, so that it doesn't become repetitive. And I haven't personally played with it, but it makes sense, right? That it doesn't become monotonous for them.
Okay, that was excellent.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that as well.
And thank you, guys. I think are we, Ms. Coyne, I believe you are done with us today. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in the fall. And Ms. Candace, do you have any parting words you wanted to share, or we'll just wrap this up?
Yeah, I think we're good. Betsy, again, thank you so much. And I love that we have it timed right before the conference, which if you want to come, you're welcome to come, so that we can continue on a whole month of learning in September. So if you all have not signed up, it's September 28th, 29th, and 30th. Sign up, and don't forget to update your membership too. But I cannot wait for your next session.